Excellent. I think we're on. Good afternoon. Welcome. My name's Elise Hatton. I'm the Smart Hub Business Manager, and welcome to our fortnightly Hub Live. I have a very exciting guest today, which is KJ from Voyak, and we're going to be sharing around startups and what it's like to run and be the founder of. Sorry, let me start again. What it's like to be the founder of and grow a startup from here in Rockhampton. Because a lot of people say you have to be in the cities, you have to be in Silicon Valley, but we are trying to prove those people wrong. And you're doing that right here from Rocky, aren't you, KJ? Hello, how are you?
Hi, Elise. I'm very good, thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on this Hub Live. And yeah, that's true. We built this in Rocky, 100% from the ground up.
Okay, so tell me first, what is Voyak?
Sure. So Voyak is a new online accommodation booking platform we built to address a lot of the issues associated with the foreign-owned companies which are now operating in Australia and have majority market share. So it has a dual focus. For accommodation operators, it's about lowering business costs to the point that they can actually make money, which is not happening at the moment. And the second focus is to build a new platform where guests never have to experience an inconvenience when they book an accommodation online. Usually you find often things go wrong when you book an accommodation, and then people have taken time out or time off the holiday, then have to focus on fixing the issues on the holiday. So overbookings, things like that, they're all issues, and you don't want to be inconvenienced when you're on a holiday. So that's the most important aspect, and that's what we want to solve. And yeah, we do believe that Voyak is the last Australian alternative towards really ensuring that we can have a local company providing a local solution for the business.
So basically, okay, first tell me, how did you come up with the idea? Where did it come from?
Yeah, so we'll have to briefly go back to 2017, December 2017.
Yep.
So as I said, this was my sort of third idea, like my second idea, face-to-face application was this building didn't work. And I was thinking to either give up or go back to another idea. But in the morning, 2 weeks before Christmas, I was at a cafe trying to get coffee, and I overheard this couple who booked their holiday with this company, but then it didn't go very well. So they lost all the money and they didn't get back any money. And they
Oh,
were frustrated. You can make out that from the tone, they were really frustrated. So I went back to my room, the house I was renting, and then essentially thought, well, maybe I could build a new travel and tourist platform, which sort of did all of this, but then you didn't lose any money if something was to go wrong, which is not through your own fault. So say flights didn't make it, or say the accommodation was booked out, whatever happened, which is not your fault, you'll get 100% money back. That was the core idea. But midway 2018, 6 months of developing this travel and tourist platform, I realized that the accommodations part was the issue. Like we could not actually integrate with any company which was Australian, where we could just knock on the door and have a meeting physically. So it was all international based companies. And that was the issue which I came across. It's like, what do I do? Either do I build my own or do I integrate one of these companies? At the same time, there were a lot of issues coming to surface from accommodation operators regarding foreign-owned companies, say your Booking and Expedia. So all the companies, they were having issues. And then the whole Dick Smith campaign happened.
yeah.
So that was when I realized, well, maybe let's drop the travel and tourist thing and build a new accommodation booking platform which solves these issues. That was back in 2018, November-ish timeframe. Three things happened which validated the idea for us. First was just the media things coming in the media. Second was very coincidentally, I was renting a house with this lady who was a manager at a motel. So I was on Google looking for research for solutions as to how should we build a platform, what's the issues. And then I realized, well, wait a minute, I'm living with a lady who actually manages a motel. So I just went down there and asked the question, hey, look, what do you find about this booking site? And she was not happy. Said, we don't like doing business with them, but we know we have to use them. And then, yeah, so I went around motels in Rocky as well when I came back and asked them the same question, hey, look, what's the issue? So, and then I realized, well, okay, there's three validations right there. So the media, talking to people, and then the Dick Smith campaign. So maybe it's worth spending time and building a platform. And that's how we built it. It was not meant to be a accommodation booking platform. We meant to build a travel and tourist company.
And isn't that funny how you often start out doing one thing and then end up doing something that's tiny bit different, or maybe sometimes even completely different? It's
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So and we never thought about doing an accommodations thing, but it's just we're having so many problems. It's like, hey, look, if we integrate with any of the companies and something goes wrong, then we got a business because the first customers comes and statistically speaking, they had issues with every 100 bookings, and we were a small company. Something goes wrong, then word of mouth gets out, and we'll be destroyed. So it was like we can't take that risk. And essentially it was like, hey, look, we need to put that aside on the shelf and build a new platform on the ground up, which solves all these issues.
Yeah, awesome. I wonder if you have access to that Dick Smith video. Do you have easy access to it? I think it's, if we could play a little snippet of that, that would be actually, would give lots of our listeners a bit of insight into what the real problem is with these booking sites that take all of our money offshore. Do you have access to it?
I'll do a quick. I have the article on the ABC. I think it was on the ABC where oh yeah, there it is. Give me a minute. Yeah, yeah. Do you want me to share screen now?
Yeah. You can share your screen and show us. You have the video?
I do. It's on the ABC
Perfect.
website.
Yeah, play it for us. So this is the problem. This is the big problem.
All right.
Okay, you're just sharing your screen. Let's have a look.
Yeah, so just as a context, this was the article, which, or second article, this was in 2019 actually, but I said another sort of issue during prediction for regional motels as, booking sites at pressure. And here's the video. It's 3 minutes. So.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, I think you have to enable the sound sharing as well. There is a little button that you need to click somewhere that enables the sound sharing. Okay. Which, so basically, just before, I think you have to unstop sharing the screen and then click the share the sound.
Share. Oh, okay. So it's that
share sound. It's just there at the bottom left-hand corner. Share sound, right at the bottom left-hand corner.
Okay, left-hand sound is share sound. It has stop video, but it doesn't have share sound.
It's okay. We can probably come back to it.
Yeah, but yeah, essentially, in this case, well, I think I have to remove my.
It's okay. Let's move on from it. It's all good. Okay, so basically 3 things converged. You saw the Dick Smith campaign, and for anyone who's interested, I would highly recommend that you actually go and look. I think someone will post that in the links for us. There's a video that he does. It's obviously in that ABC article, and it just summarizes the problem. And the problem is that essentially 1/3 of all of the money that is spent on accommodation in Australia is leaving the Australian economy and flowing towards the US economy, because these companies like Expedia and Booking.com, they're all US owned companies. And so 1/3, literally 30% of every hotel room that is booked in Australia, 30% of those Australian dollars are going to companies who are not owned by Australia. And that's part of the problem that you were solving as well, KJ, which is the booking fee is 30%. So if you book a room for $150, this is an example, an easy example, $50 of your booking fee will not go to the operator or the owner of that hotel. It will go to the US economy through the company that you're booking through. So for example, booking.com. And so KJ, you built a platform where that percentage, that booking fee is way more affordable. Tell us more.
Absolutely. So as a number, in 2017, more than $700 million went offshore as part of the entire business. So that's how much money went offshore. And if you can imagine there's an Australian company doing that, then that money gets reinvested back into the economy in terms of new products and services. But yeah, so at the moment, average commission rate for booking is about 20-30%, depending on who you list with. What we want to do is lower it to the point where they don't lose an arm or leg, but then also make money. So we brought it down all the way to 5%, and our overall vision for the next 10 years is that bringing it so low that we are 1 or 2%. So obviously at scale we can achieve that. but we're building it from the ground up to the point that we can keep lowering costs rather than increasing cost at scale. Because sometimes our business grows, then your cost increases. So we really are mindful of that fact, but we really want to ensure that we can keep those costs low and keep pushing it down to the point that we are the cheapest platform for accommodation operators, and they actually prefer getting bookings to Voyak.
That's really cool. Now, KJ, are you a developer? Are you a technical person?
No, I'm non-technical, not a programmer, although I did spend 6 months of my life learning to program because I was unable to find a programmer. So I spent 6 months learning Python, but I was like, my mind's not set up to learn programming. So I tried to do that, but no, couldn't do it.
And I think that's really interesting too. So you're a non-technical founder, which means you were not the one programming the actual platform. So where did you find your team? How did you go about building that platform without knowing programming yourself?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So as I said, this is all in 2018. This is all happening in 2018. So challenges are, startups are difficult, can't find programmers. There's no startup ecosystem. And in 2018, I actually thought about outsourcing the entire thing as other people do. I was like, I can't continue on this path. It's either give up or outsource the entire. There's only two pathways available. But in 2018, October timeframe, when I was back in Rocky, I went to the gym. Actually, I was so depressed about whole this thing. Like I was like the bottom of the barrel trying to get motivation out. I'm like, can I get scrape some motivation to continue on this thing? But in the gym, I was like watching Netflix all week, couldn't figure out. I was like, I'm just gonna give up this thing. I'm like, come on, like what do I do? You know, there's no way out. So, but I felt bloated just eating all this fast food and Netflix. So I decided to go to gym on this very day. And then I was up there working out and I came across a familiar face, Sam Grumbley. So he did engineering at CQ before, and that's how I recognized him because he was a year below me. Because I already finished engineering, but I remember you did engineering from somewhere from CQ. And he's like, yeah, but I moved to Griffith to do computer science programming. And I'm like, wait a minute, let me just pinch myself. Did you say computer science programming? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, whoa, talk about this, like coincidence. Like I happened to go to gym when I didn't feel like it. And I happened to talk to someone where I usually don't talk in the gym to others. And then turns out he's a programmer. So I quickly pitched to him the idea, the concept. Hey, look, this is something as an idea I have. This is all the research I have. Are you interested to do something like this? That's the question. And he had to look over it. And he said, sure, this sounds great. And then he brought on board three of his other friends to program this as well. So it was only one programmer I met, Sam Grumley himself, but he brought in others as well. And then we still needed one more programmer because of the scope of the work. So I then talked to one of my friends from back in New Delhi, from my high school in New Delhi. And he said, hey, look, we need one more programmer, one more co-founder. Do you want to work on this? And I was like, yeah, sure. Because I actually contacted him before to help me outsource it back to India, because that's where most programmers outsource it. So, but I asked him, look, do you want to help on this? We have 5 programmers now. And that's how it all ended up from that one visit in the gym. Had I not gone there, we would not be having this talk.
That is so amazing. That's serendipity. I love it. That's when things come together for a reason. Absolutely brilliant. And I like how when you found your first programmer, he essentially brought a whole group of other friends along who could help you build the platform. And so how long have you been working on the project for?
Yeah, so we started in 2019, the first sort of January, because we finalized the documents, the contracts, everything else, co-founder agreements, things like that in December 2019. 2018. And then, yeah, so we started this in 2019. And then we hope to launch this in mid 2019, actually. So it's like, hey, let's build this quickly. So, but we never really got there. It's just because, as said, we don't have the access to capital, venture capital. It's not like you can just, take time off from work and spend all your day doing this. There's a thing called life, and you have to fund your life. Food, bills, rents, utilities, and you have to work for it. So, so we were only able to work weekends every now and then,
right.
Weekends or nighttime, and then do this code up. But yeah, we were meant to launch this in 2019. We missed that date. Then we decided December 2019. We missed that date too. And then 2020 pandemic happened, and we were like, well, we can't launch then. We don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, we kept going bit by bit. So yeah, it took us 2 years to get here, with the pandemic included.
With the pandemic in between, yes. So
Yeah.
well done. I think that's pretty good. And the development is ongoing on your platform?
Yeah, so we launched the version which was a launch version, so that's out there. Now it's just making this iterative improvements as we go, ensuring that we fulfill our vision or work towards a vision, which is to lower the cost and ensure that guests will never have to experience an inconvenience when they book an accommodation. So that's per that vision we're developing our platform as it is. So
Wonderful.
that's how we are executing day by day.
Excellent. Hey, Paula, thank you so much for joining us on our Hub Live today. I'm here with KJ, and we're talking about how to start and run a startup from Rocky and just his experience around what that looks like. So, KJ, tell us more about. I'm really keen to get to the lessons that you've learned and how to actually make this work in a regional center. But just tell us about where things are now. So, are you onboarding hotels? Are people booking through your platform? Like, where are things at for you right now? And what's that process, the sales process like?
Yeah. So it's been 2 months. So you can say it's like a newborn baby. Companies are like newborn babies. It's like you see them throughout their phase of life.
They really are.
Yeah.
Exactly right. It's a
So
good
it's like
analogy.
yeah. So it's like it's incubated at the moment. We have to take care of it. It's on. Let's just say something went wrong, and it's on a life support system. So you have capital, ideas, team. These are all life support systems, and they have to work perfectly. You remove any
Yeah,
one of them, and the child will not make it. So,
that's right.
so that's what we are doing. At the moment, we have launched, we have 6 accommodations signed up in Rocky, which was beyond what our wildest expectations, because when we were trying to onboard accommodations, we never pressured, we didn't go with the expectation to pressure them to sign up. Sure, we convinced them to sign up because that's what we built it for. We had an entire launch proposal printed out for them to know why we built it, but there was no pressure. But then, yeah, so we have 6 signed up. And then at the moment, we're just releasing a couple of more improvements before we start onboarding more accommodations. Because we didn't know much. I said we were in stealth development for over 2 years, and we didn't really listen to much of the feedback. But now, since launching it, there's a lot of feedback coming in, and we realized, okay, let's push those improvements before we continue on any further. Otherwise, that becomes a fundamental limiter to our growth. So if we continue as is with those sort of things which are not improved at the moment. But yeah, so we're working on those improvements, and once they're in, then we'll continue on our campaign and start our marketing campaign to get the bookings through.
Oh, I just realized I was muted. Awesome. So tell us about the lesson. So if someone has an idea and they want to do a tech startup and they're living in Rocky or any other regional center, what would you recommend they do and what would you recommend they don't do?
Yeah, so one of the most important things, the first thing anyone should do is validate their idea. That's one thing I learned since 2016. I was like, because you should start a startup or a company on 2 bases. First, if you have a problem. If you have a problem, the chances are others also have the same problem, and that's not being solved. So you start a company for that, and then chances are other people will also use your product. And the second is, you may not have the problem, but then you keep your sight and your hearing open to the environment so you can listen to what others are having the problem. This was my case. I didn't have any problems with me or my work or anything, so I couldn't build anything. But I was open to my areas. So say, for example, a very quick example, say real estate listings. I saw a house, this was before Voyak, and I was actually considering to build a real estate platform, a peer-to-peer one, which solves our problems. Because I saw a homeowner which had 5 boards of different agencies. And I'm like, why do you have 5 boards? Isn't one enough? And how much you paying money per month on advertising? So, and he was like, yeah, well, what do? I need to get this house so quickly. But the limitation of agencies is that they only advertise to so many people, right? Yes. So that's why you have realestate.com.au, which sort of combines all of it. So as an example, that person had that problem. So then we could do something to fix it. I'm sure there are other homeowners with the same problem, which are using 5 agencies to sell one home, right? So as an example, but important thing is to validate that idea. So say in my case, there were 3 validations. First was the media, which was bring the issues up. Then the talking to property owners as well about the problems. And third was say the Dixon, which is on a national level campaign. So you need about 3 validations to continue before you sort of look at an idea. Okay, maybe I should expend my resources to continue on this path? Because we all get ideas, but not all ideas are great. Yeah, so important
Okay,
to,
can I?
yeah,
I want to jump in and kind of validate what you are saying about validation.
yeah,
I think one of the greatest mistakes that I see people make early on is that they see a problem, they think that it's a real problem because they talk to a few people or they think it through, and they go, yeah, that is definitely a real problem. But then they don't spend enough time validating. And I think it is always nice when you have like measures, like this is
yeah,
enough. When you've done this much,
yeah,
then it means that you've really done what you needed to do. And I think from the lean startup methodology, really you should talk to 100 people. If you can talk face to face to 100 people who are in your target market or the people who are experiencing that problem,
yeah,
and you ask them what's your greatest challenge or what's the greatest problem that you're experiencing in whatever area, and you document that meticulously, then you actually get a really good handle or a really clear picture of what the actual issues are and who you're really talking to. So when you get to the other end where it's built and you've taken all their feedback into consideration, also then you have that easy sales message already formulated because you have people's words that you can use. So I echo and say yes, underline an exclamation mark behind what you're saying. Validation is probably the most important thing, I think, in building a startup.
yeah, correct. And then if you don't have a lot of people, like I started engineering, I didn't even do business. So I didn't know a lot about business, but I read books through, I watched other people, case studies, what to do. So if you are non-technical, non-business person, then that doesn't stop you. Don't make it stop you starting a company. There's always trial by experimentation, trial by failure. And these have worked very well. Sure, they'll take a longer time. But I said, if you need someone or you go and ask someone for help if you don't have those people, say a business person who may be a friend, and say, can you advise me how to do it? So that's also available if you don't have access, if you don't, for yourself, not that competent in those fields.
Yeah, and we offer that at the Smart Hub. In fact, AJ, you are one of our startup mentors. So if someone wants to talk about, is this a good idea? What's the next step? How do I move forward? How do I find how do I find a technical co-founder? Any of these, how do I validate this idea? You can certainly meet with KJ or with some of our other mentors if you're part of our membership. So just reach out by private messaging us or commenting on our feed, or just reaching out to the Smart Hub in general, and we can definitely put you in touch with people who could help you for sure.
Yeah, and just to add to the point, the biggest problem with finding technical people is that we don't have lots of programmers. So if you do have a technical idea, say you build any marketplace, any application, you need programmers. Chances are you will outsource the entire thing. So one of the pitfalls is you don't know who to go to and how to do this. So important in that aspect is you find someone who's technical, won't program your application or your marketplace, but then is available as an advisor who can say, look, that person saying this is right or wrong. Because you may outsource this to any one of the companies, but you don't know if they're telling the truth or the right way of doing things, or what technologies, programming languages you should use to program your application or your website. So I'm sure there will be programmers who can be, as a co-founder, not do the work because there's no time, but then can advise you, hey, look, this is the right thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do. So important in that case.
Yeah, no, I understand. That's excellent. Okay, so we're back to the lessons. Number one, find a problem. If you don't have any problems yourself, good on you, lucky you. Look around you. Lots of people have challenges. Number two, go and validate that problem by talking to at least 100 people in that market, people who are experiencing that problem. Okay, and get a technical founder, or get at least a technical advisor if you have to outsource the project. What other lessons can you share with us?
Lessons, well, chances are that when you do things, expectation and reality is important to note as well. You will have a lot of expectations from your project, but chances are reality may destroy it, because reality works very different. Reality is very mean, I would say, from my experience.
Reality is so mean. I agree.
So it's like, you have dreams, but then you wake up in the morning, oh, reality, great, here we go again. So, so important that you don't feel sort of pushed behind or say, oh, well, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. So reality can be mean, but important to keep on going on a daily basis and keep solving those problems. Because if you don't solve those problems, then stress builds up. So
Yeah.
to resolve stress, you need to solve those problems. So that's what you need to do. If you have problems, don't sort of, oh, well, what I'm going to do is solve so many problems, but you just go and fix it. Or you talk to people. Like in my case, when I visited Smart Hub for legal aid, like I didn't know any legal companies or anyone. So I visited Smart Hub in early 2019 to help me out with finding a legal firm who could help us with legal side. And you suggested Law Square, and we used them. So it was really great. But I said, if you don't have anyone, then make sure you go talk to people or your community, someone in your community like Smart Hub in this case.
That's really cool. So what do you think, in your opinion, is it possible to build a startup in the regions? And what is missing in our region? What would make it even easier if you think it is a good idea?
Well, I agree that we need to build more startups regionally. Ideas
Yes.
are everywhere. Universities are bubbling with ideas. I know back in 2016, when I was in my fourth year engineering, when I started sharing these ideas with other people, they also had tons of ideas. In fact, I still know someone who's learning coding himself now because he wants to build products, but there's no programming. So he's now doing it himself. Because I talked to him when I launched the company, he's like, I did it. And he was like, yeah, I'm now learning programming myself. So I'm like, great. What we do need regionally is, as I said, we need universities really support regional communities because that's where you can really access talent. That's where you can access competency, right? So if you have a problem, then you go to university and they'll help you out. So like agriculture products, how many times we go to university to solve those problems for farmers? So in a similar way, we need universities to listen through and start offering those technical courses where where people are graduating with the skills and tools. As one of my co-founders says, that programmers are the tools of the trade.
Mm.
If it wasn't for programmers, ideas will be ideas only. They will never be able to translate into products and services. So, and I completely agree with him. Like talent and programmers, very important. So I don't know how many ideas don't get built because they need programmers. So that message is not getting across to universities and politicians in general. So that's frustrating. So sometimes as an entrepreneur, it's frustrating because we're missing on so many innovations. Like countless number of startups we're missing out on at the university level because there's no talent. So yeah, so that's what we can do. If you want to do this regionally, I said we did it, but challenges were immense as compared to a city, where you can go to a city, you can go and get programmers elsewhere. But as I said, I really want to do this regionally because to keep our costs low. If you move to a city, your costs increase in terms of that. So it's really important to watch that cash burn when you're sort of building a startup. So in my case, I was here with mom and dad, so I had to pay rent or anything else. So I was saving money and putting that money into Voyak and development.
Right.
So if I'm living in a city, renting a place, my own food, working, 5 hours, 10 hours a day, then the startup suffers because life, you have to sort of be able to do those things. So, and regionally, it is possible because it's cheaper to live regionally at times. So if you're an entrepreneur living in a city, consider moving to regional areas because it's cheaper. So move your entire team regionally for 12 months, develop it and launch it here. Because you can talk to people. I don't think, if I was in Brisbane doing this, I don't think I had the same feedback as that of Rocky because it's a community. Brisbane is big. So that's what I think regionally their chances of success are higher. But as I said, access to talent is also limited.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good answer. That's a really, really good answer. So KJ, what the future look like for you? Like, what is your big vision?
Yeah, so our vision really is seeing accommodation operators, reinvesting back into their properties. Like one day we really want to be driving to Rocky in 10 years from now, and we're seeing motels which are reinvented. I'd say motels 2.0, what we described, and people have made that as their primary form of accommodation. At the moment, it's slowly shifting away from motels towards alternate accommodations. You have apartments, short-term rentals, Airbnbs. That's becoming primary because customers realize I'm paying $100 for something like this, but I'm getting better value and quality. So 10 years from now, that's what we expect to see Voyak has become a leading provider of online accommodations, and we've solved the problem for accommodation operators. And where a guest can book any accommodation and they know that they'll never have an inconvenience when they travel. So that's where we want to be in 10 years. And one more thing I want to include that in 10 years from now, we don't know what the world will be, but if you're traveling from, say, Rocky to, say, Brisbane, and say, what we like to call is the connected trip, in terms of like connected trip. So you don't have a car, you need a taxi. On your app, on Voyak, you go, okay, well, I don't have a taxi, I need to pick up. So everything will be programmed by itself, because if, say, your flight's at 7 o'clock, then your taxi will be at 6 o'clock outside your house, all by itself, as a no inconvenience. So that's where we're visioning for Voyak.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I love that. I love it. So you're anticipating every move that a traveler would have to make, and providing the resources ahead of time through no effort of the traveler to be able to just show up and just get on the taxi and just show up at the airport. It's all done. You just show up at the other side. Yeah, I really love that. I love that idea. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And what about your client base? Are you looking to expand, obviously beyond Rocky, looking to expand into Australia, into the US market, into more of the global market? What are your plans?
Yeah, one day, hopefully, I said fingers crossed. Someone told me fingers crossed don't work in business. Someone told me that.
Well, you have to do everything you can. You can also cross your fingers. You also have to do the work.
Yeah, we still do the work. So, so we would obviously love to be a global company, because we know if we can provide value to Rocky accommodations, we can provide value to accommodations in America, because I'm sure even their cost of business is high with the same problem. Like, this problem is not just local, this is a global problem, because competition is consolidated between just Booking.com and Expedia. That's it, and it's everywhere. So this is not a local problem. So yeah, we do end up, we see ourselves sort of in the Capricorn region, Queensland, and then start expanding to other states, and then if we can start going to New Zealand, and then start our expansion. So using the same principles, if we can make it work in Rocky, then we can make it work everywhere. And I'm sure accommodations would love the savings, which they, as the savings through Voyak, when we process their bookings every time. So yeah, so we do see ourselves as a global company in 10 years, who knows?
Yeah, it's really good, because you chose a global problem. It's something that you can solve. If you can solve it here, you can solve it anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So everywhere, yeah. So same thing in New Zealand. They also have the same problem. They see a lot of money being siphoned out of the economy, going out, but not being reinvested back into the economy. So even if we are not a New Zealand company, but we made the promise, hey, look, if we make any money, it's going to be fully tax deductible. Whatever we have to pay our taxes, we'll pay our taxes. And if we can reinvest back into the economy, we'll do that too. So, because as I said, like, ethics are important in business. So we don't really care if we make enough profit. We do care if accommodation operators are really reinvesting back into the properties by making more money. That's what we care about. Like, if I see that one day in Rocky, where we have more motels undergoing renovations, I'd be like, wow, great. You solved the purpose.
That's your KPI. I understand. That's wonderful. Yeah, that's really wonderful. And it's good. I think in business, making a profit is good, because you have to be viable. Without making a profit, you can't be viable, because you have nothing to expand with. You have no resources to continue to build on. But you can only make a profit consistently and remain viable if you provide value to your market. And so business really is, if it's done correctly, it really does create win-win outcomes. Win for the business, win for the team in the business, a win for the customers, a win for the community. And that's why business, I think, in my opinion, my humble opinion, that's why business is such a great tool, where leveraged correctly and used by the right people can really create a lot of good in the world and can solve some of our big problems globally. So it's very, very exciting. And KJ, I'm so pleased that you are doing it right here from Rocky. You're not just attempting it, you're not talking about it, you're not thinking about it, you're actually executing and doing it very well. I remember when I started in my role 4 years ago in this innovation space, in the startup space, in the Smart Hub, there were no startups in Rocky that I could identify, not a single one. And look at you go, and a few other people who have now created startups and who are making it work here from Rocky. That makes me so excited and so proud of our community and of the great entrepreneurs we have here, people like you. So well done and congratulations, and thank you for doing this and for proving that it's possible, and not just talking about it, but actually executing in on such a high level, and for making it work so well. Really appreciate it. So just before we say goodbye, do you have any parting words of wisdom that you haven't mentioned up to this point?
Yeah, there's one thing I can say. Like, obviously, and you know my purpose. I became an entrepreneur for my dog. Like, like my dog inspired me to start a company for him. And like I never planned to take an entrepreneurial path. It was always meant to be a career path. But I was not prepared for it. I have no skills in business. But doesn't mean that if you don't attempt anything, nothing will work. If it helps, like I put myself, how Jeff Bezos says this, that because when he started Amazon, he was like, okay, well, will I regret not starting Amazon if I was 60 years old? Right? Would he regret it? So same thing I would say for people who attempt to start companies, the biggest thing is taking that first step, because they're concerned with what they do. So if you are concerned, then put yourself in the shoes of your 80-year-old yourself and think yourself, would you have lost enough time, or would you regret that decision? I mean, regret minimization is the key here. So by the time you're 80, you should have less regrets to live with. And if I hadn't attempted Voyak, then sure, in my case, it would have been, full of regrets. When I was 80, I was like, I should have tried my best for Voyak,
Yes,
and the world would be a
yes.
better place. But now when we are here, at least I have less regrets when I'll be 80 years old. So that's the takeaway for people who are attempting to start their business. Just have less regrets.
Oh, absolutely love that too. It reminds me of a book that was written by a nurse who worked with the elderly in palliative care. So people who are just, at the last parts of their lives. And she asked all of them, what are your thoughts about your life? What do you regret? And they all almost anonymously answered the same thing, which is, it's not the chances that they did take. It's not even the failures that they regret. It's the things that they regret not doing in their life. Yeah. And so absolutely agree with that, what you said. Think about what you would be like at the end of your life. There are no trophies when you get to the end, whether you do well or whether you don't. It's all the same. You might as well do what you want to do. You might as well pursue your dreams and reach for the stars and do what you feel passionate about. And you're certainly demonstrating that for us, KJ. So KJ from Voyak, thank you so much for joining us today. Really enjoyed our conversation. And we will be back in a couple of weeks with our next Hub Live. Please do join us then. We look forward to seeing you. And if you have any suggestions around topics that you'd like us to cover, please feel free to add those to either the comments or to private message us or to reach out to us at the Smart Hub. And if you have interest in any of our services or accessing some of our programs or mentors, as we spoke about previously, again, just reach out to us here at the Smart Hub. We look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, KJ. I hope you have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Elise. It was absolutely a blast. I mean, I really love doing these little things, and then hopefully people will be like, let's do more startups. So hopefully we inspired more people to start companies. Okay.
Love it. Thank you so much, sir. See you later. Goodbye.
Thank you, Elise. Bye.